I don't know if you saw this. I think I talked about it last week. There's something called I almost call it the blended interest rate, effective interest rate. Do you know what the effective interest rate is for all mortgages? So throw all the more residential mortgages in one bucket, figure out the average. Do you know what the average is or the effective interest rate is today? Just take a wild guess.
Of all existing mortgages,
All existing residential mortgages.
I would guess 4%.
Very good. It's actually 3.6.
Okay, a little bit less.
Yeah,
Good.
and you know what the real bad or the real crazy thing is? If you're a guy like me and you know that roughly 30% of single family homes don't have mortgages, if you throw those numbers, it actually brings the effective interest rate sub 3%.
Wow.
Think about
Wow.
that. No wonder
It's
everybody's staying and affording and there's no distress.
right. I mean, we're literally more than double that with today's interest rates. And you cannot double interest rates without making a substantial impact on the payment. And in a lot of markets, a lot of deals that I'm looking at, it's a 50% increase in your mortgage payment just because
Yeah.
rates have doubled.
And that's why transactions crash 40%. And
Yes.
I'm actually on record saying that I think transactions are going down another 20%. We're going to be below 4 million, at least for the month of August and September, which will be reported. The first number comes out in about 3 weeks on September 21st. But let's get back to the topic at hand. For a long time, I've been thinking the housing market was going to be broken for years.
Mhm.
I now think it could be a decade. And it's the 53-year spreadsheet that made me see this. So when I tell you the housing market could be broken for a decade, how does that just feel crazy to you, or what do you think?
It doesn't feel crazy to me. I think that we've had more than a decade of basically, expansion, historically long expansion period when you compare, expansions and contractions over time. It's the longest since President Abraham Lincoln was in office. And I may be getting older, but I'm not quite that old.
Not that old.
And so, I think that we've had this big run up in asset values across all assets, including home values. And so that's not going to last a long time. And if you look at kind of where interest rates are and all the values that are interest rate sensitive, it would not surprise me. And a lot of economists believe we're going to have a lost decade where no values really go up substantially, where we're kind of flat over the next 10 years with a little bit of lumpiness in between. So that doesn't strike me as like, oh, Michael, you're way overblowing it. It's, just bad news. It's a reality that the next decade is not going to likely be as prosperous for asset values as the last decade was. So it doesn't strike me as crazy. I would hope, though,
Yeah.
that it wouldn't quite last a decade, that we have our downturn, that we have our recession, that
Froth.
some of the
Yeah.
chaff is taken off the top. But with housing, like you said, when there are so many homes that are locked in at 3.6% average, I don't see many homeowners moving for a very long time unless rates came back to the zero bound and prices came back down. So could that happen the next 10 years? Yes, but I'd love to see your spreadsheet and the
Yeah.
data that's making you think a decade.